Hello YouTube, Wilful Ninja here, bringing you another video. Now, this video is going to be solely focused on showing you guys, telling you guys the origins of the Lunar Guard. Now, I created the mysterious tattoo, and again, sorry, I do apologize for the spelling. I'm not the best speller, but yeah, I created the faction and the tattoo as a way of getting the players of different alignments and different goals to work together. They're all brought forth by a goddess. They're conscripted. The goddess didn't give them the choice. The goddess deems them her desired generals or members. Now, the players specifically become what's called the high generals, and that is, what it is. So players are high generals. Other characters that will show up, NPCs and whatnot, will be just regular members. But okay, let's get to it. Now, the party first met in Neverwinter. I'll just get rid of the Lunar Guard icon right now. The party first met in Neverwinter in the tavern the Boar's Hat Inn, somewhere in the Blue Lake district. Everyone, from no matter where they were in the world, they all got a magical tattoo somewhere appearing on their body. Some of them were closer to Neverwinter, some of them travelled actually quite a bit, such as Montingo Inoue. He travelled all the way from High Rock, which is a far off kingdom. Some others travelled in from the countryside, whereas some travelled simply from Neverwinter itself, such as my character, Loyal, aka Khalil Amadeus. Again, I'm not sure if that's exactly how I would pronounce his real name, but that's how I currently been pronouncing it. Either way, they were all driven with a strong sense to find a dwarf, one named Gundren Rockseeker. Now, upon meeting Gundren Rockseeker, some shenanigans played out. One member, some shenanigans played out. They all had drinks. One Ben Kenobi tried to see under Elvish's mask, being very curious. A chase ensued in which then Ben Kenobi became very distrusted amongst the group members of the party. No one seemed to trust him, which then continued to develop as the adventure played out. But luckily, he ends up getting murdered right before their eyes, and it quickly then became some of their main focus on why they want to take down a faction called the Dust Guard. Anyway, back to the story. As they travelled they were tasked by Gundren to deliver a cart to Phandalin. Move the group token away. Hold on, I forgot. You're actually seeing this from a different book's point of view. Sorry, hold on. So, from Neverwinter, they were tasked to escort the car to... They were tasked to escort the car to Phandalin, in which case they promptly then began to. And now along the way they came across some goblins, which they quickly dispatched. Hold on. Oh, where is this? Oh, I can't see his name on that one. One of their party members, Xander Octavian von Jakul, unveiled a unique weapon that he has been entrusted to use by a faction known as the Justicars, what he calls a firearm. He quickly dispatched some of the goblins. Montingo Inoue, granted, got killed during the encounter, but he was brought back by by some magical means. He claims it was the goddess Elaine, the one that has chosen them to act as her generals. Is it true? We do not know yet. They decided to take a slight detour after they discovered two dead horses, believing that these horses may in fact be the horses of Gundren, who left ahead of them earlier to make sure things were all set up at the shop in Phandalin before the party arrived. Now, upon discovering then the Kragma hideout, the Goblin Cave, they infiltrated, quickly dispatching several goblins as well as that hideout leader. Later, as they continued adventuring, they discovered that it was in fact Gundren and a human, Sildar Hallwinter, that have been taken by the goblins. They got the goblins to surrender, but then they quickly dispatched them, leaving it was best not to let the goblins continue out and potentially kill more innocents. Under an intense hostage situation for Sildar Hallwinter, the goblin slowly lowered his weapon, believing that, if he does not harm Sildar, he'll be allowed free. Not making any such promise, Loyal fired an Eldritch Blast, killing the goblin, which gained some animosity from Ben Kenobi, considering when Montego promised to not kill the goblin, he took it as the group was not promising. Loyal believed that no, Montego does not speak for the group, and therefore does not speak for him, and he made no such promise. Now, with Sildar saved, and sadly Gundren not at this location, being moved to another goblin stronghold known as Grogma Castle, the party took Sildar to Phandalin, hoping to keep him safe. Now, upon arriving at Phandalin, some more issues ensued between the party and their friendly rogue, Ben Kenobi. Now, the party set forth to head straight to Grogma Castle to save their employer. And along the way, they came across another goblin attack. Now, the party quickly dispatched them easily enough, as they are now proficient fighters now, and they're quite used to fighting goblins. Granted, though, tragedy struck when a masked villain appeared in a tree, stabbing Ben Kenobi multiple times in the back with daggers. Fallen forward and dead, the party assured themselves that they will kill this masked figure and get revenge. The party sadly had to move on. They did a quick cremation and moved on towards Grogma Castle. And it was there they discovered these goblins are being tasked with dealing with these goblins. They're being tasked. The goblins are being tasked with capturing Gundren for the sake of someone named the Black Spider. Now, instead of storming the castle, Elvish, along with Loyal, decide to disguise themselves and several other members as Red Brands, knowing that the Red Brands are working closely with the goblins. Loyal offered to be a prisoner due to the fact that he has acquired a special ability to summon his weapon. He no longer needs to carry it with him at all times. So therefore he offered to hand over his weapon and become a prisoner. They infiltrated the hideout and quickly dispatched King Grawl, the leader of the Grogma goblin tribe, as well as this messenger, who turned out to be a shape-shifting creature. Now, upon the goblins storming in, Elvish transformed into another goblin. Sorry, transformed into a bugbear and proclaimed that the Grogmas have their freedom and that they should leave now and remember that it was the Lunar Guard that gave them this. The goblins swore that they would remember this act and left the castle. Upon discussions, the party has decided to claim Grogma Castle as their own. And then they began to search what things their new home had to offer. And I actually got ahead of myself. I forgot to mention, while in Phandalin, Loyal met with the Phandalin representative of his faction, the Zentarum, a fellow agent within the ranks, which will eventually reveal herself to be quite a skilled fighter. Under orders to deal with the Red Brands, but she was told not to deal with them directly. She was told to simply either control the Red Brands or to eliminate them, but her hands were tied, so she tasked the party on doing the task. While Loyal was doing this, Elvish and some of his and the rest of the party, before Loyal caught up to them, decided to head to an orchard looking for some advice from an old adventurer, who turned out to be Elvish's uncle, Darren Edermatt. Now, Darren took on the appearance of a weak elderly man, but was in fact a very powerful, strong wizard and a swordsman. He revealed to the group that what their marks were, being the chosen of the lunar goddess Elaine, that their sole task was to serve her in the aid of protecting the barriers between the planes, and that he went into hiding, and he suggested the same for his Elvish's mother and father, when the Lunar Guard were being wiped out by an unknown force, which then Darren discovered to be what the now popular mercenary group, the Dust Guard. He does not know why the Dust Guard does this as of yet, but he knows that they are powerful and they should not act alone. And now with the new registration for adventuring groups, Darren decides to offer his orchard to his nephew and the Lunar Guard. And he rode off towards Neverwinter. Upon this revelation, the party has decided to stay together and work for their own individual goals, but at the same time also work to help others and possibly answer the call when need be. Darren also revealed that he was one of the original Lunar Guard High Generals who served Elaine. Sadly, he has no intents of being a High General, and he simply is going out to find the new soldiers. Sorry folks, hold on. Now, back to Grogma Castle. The party began searching. They found an odd golden statuette, and they shortly then discovered that this statue allowed them to ask a simple question, and it will give them an answer. It did not work for Loyal and Elise, not knowing why, but it revealed onto Montego and Noye that if he was to travel to Neverwinter, he would meet the man that killed his father. Fueled by the desire for vengeance, Montego decided to reveal it to the group upon after being asked by Loyal what is the matter. Deciding that their fellow member, their fellow member's life goal could be complete, the party decided to head to Neverwinter, where they saw, where for some saw, upon the way they met Gregor, a mountain dwarf who was being drawn towards Grogma Castle. He did not know where he was walking to, only that he had a desire to walk in that direction. He came across the party and decided to travel with them, realizing that he too was one of these chosen Lunar guards, while still being very skeptical over the concept. Upon entering Neverwinter, the party learned the more of ins and outs of being registered adventurers. The party then met with Darren, who was in the registration area in the House of Knowledge. He also allowed them, filled in the paperwork for them to enter the Grand Melee, a tournament that would be held in Neverwinter in 2 weeks. For budding young adventuring groups to prove themselves and possibly win a place in the Grand Tournament. Gregor discovered that the adventuring, some druids who have the coin can have access to unique environments in the form of floating islands that are scattered across Neverwinter. Not agreeing with this concept, for he, as a dwarf and as a druid, decided to believes that druids should not be attached to a kingdom. As the party was heading to the Boar Hat Inn, they saw a new ship arrive, sailing through the river. And on it, Montego recognized the man that killed his father. Filled with vengeance, he decided to follow the river, crossing back over the bridge and trying to run ahead. Deciding to help his ally possibly get closer to his vengeance, Loyal and the rest of the party followed suit. Loyal, flying to the air, guided the young ex-noble through the streets of Neverwinter till they arrived at the docks. Sadly, it was the wrong dock, but they saw where the ship was making port, so they decided to quickly rush back with the aid of Loyal, giving them directions from his home city. Now, there was one member that decided to not follow, and that was Elvish, who decided a more practical approach of helping Montego. Grabbing a nearby, ripping apart some of his cloak and wrapping it around an arrow, he ran to a nearby city guard who was city watch who was lighting street lamps, firing an arrow at the ship. Sadly, Elvish missed and was promptly arrested, brought to the Hall of Justice, where for the next night he attempted several shenanigans of trying to get out and getting to know his guards, believing that he will have to slowly get to know them. With the rest of the group slowly passing Castle Never and reaching the docks, Montego was shocked to discover that the man who killed his father took his father's noble land and became king of High Rock. And he was being met by the king of Neverwinter, with several royal guard members and several of Neverwinter's army, as well as the Dust Guards, being the bodyguards of this king. Loyal decided to stop Montego from lashing out and getting his revenge, swearing that he will help Montego get his vengeance, but it must be done in a smart way. And for as long as Montego is part of the Lunar Guard, he has his sword. Now, with that, the party then travelled to the Boar's Hat. They got drunk. They promptly got Elvish out of jail under the oath that they will complete a task in order to earn his pardon. The group then set out back towards Phandalin. Luckily enough, they were tasked to take out reports of nearby zombies, which was luckily enough since they were already tasked by Darren to do such a thing. Upon completing the task, meeting a friendly necromancer from the Kingdom of Tay, where necromancy is actually allowed and permitted. He then decided they decided, okay, let's head back to Phandalin and rest up. Now along the way they met an old friend of Elvish, one Wang Shi Tong, a monk who was tasked to similar to Gregor, was tasked to follow the group. Tasked with the desire to travel in such a direction. He decided to spend time with Elvish in hopes of catching up with him. And that is where our story. That, folks, is the story of the Lunar Guard, how they got together, why are they together, and what they have done before the stream. I would hope to, at some point, I may hope to get each member to do a video with me, going into greater detail about their character and their past. And with that, you'll soon see the story.